If we take a look over here on XSPA on the 6-hour chart, you can see that we had a nice impulse up here, which triggered a buy signal approaching. So what I'm going to do is draw my Fibonacci from the bottom of this impulse to the top of this impulse right here. And my buy zone is basically going to be the 0.786 fib, which you can see here. We tapped it perfectly. It held great as support. And when the 0.786 fib holds a support, I almost always expect it to go to the 0.236 fib, which you can see it did here, which was perfect for a nice trade. If I'm just holding this as a short-term trade from point A to point B, that is a great trade. And it went for probably, so about almost 50% trade here, just based off that signal. Now, if I'm able to break above the 0.236 fib, that would give us continuation confirmation and saying this is going to be a nice strong trend on the 6H chart. And then when Top Goon X gets across this mid zone, I'm really going to expect the strong trend continuation. We're consolidating below resistance right now. So for me, I'm going to continue holding this because Top Goon X is showing nice upwards momentum. But you can see here how this trade works out. Now, if we break below the golden pocket, then I would just close this trade in small profit, or I could have shaved some profit up here. But that is how this signal works. Works on multiple time frames on multiple assets. Hey everyone, thanks for subscribing to Top Goon X. I'm excited to be able to share these alerts with you. I use this indicator basically every day in a lot of my trades. And even if I'm not using the signals, I'm using it for confirmation from a momentum perspective. But for you guys, you're basically just going to get into signals. So I want to get into the signals and how you can use them. And first off, what's going to happen is you're going to get a signal on Telegram that looks like this, okay? It's going to say whatever the asset is, whether it's a buy or a sell, approaching signal. Remember, it says approaching, so it doesn't mean you're immediately going to enter this trade. It's going to tell you which time frame to go look at, and then it's going to give you these quick rules here in case you forget. You're going to get a signal that looks like this for a sell, and it's going to be a plus for a buy, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And I'm going to show you some of the signals that don't work out and some of the signals that do. And the signals that do work out, and if you have confirmation of the hold on that level, it's basically a like 90% or higher rate that you get your first target met for a scalp play. And then if it breaks your first target, you're actually going to have a longer hold. So let's get right into this. You see here, I have a sell approaching signal, that red X. You're going to get a signal in Telegram for this. I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, low time frame signals because they're high volume assets, and Top Goon X works best with high volume. So you're going to see here, I got the signal here. All right. So in Telegram, you're going to see what time the signal was printed, and you're going to go look at that 1 minute chart or whatever chart it was printed and see what time frame, or we'll see where your candle's at. Signal was printed at the bottom here, which is great. When it's printed at the bottom, you usually expect a bounce. This is saying a sell approaching. So you're going to get a bounce, and then you're going to want to sell the bounce. All right. Now, if I got the signal here, that's going to change where I'm going to draw my Fibonacci's levels. Since I got the signal right here, I'm going to take my Fibonacci level from the immediate impulse down. Okay. Because this is the impulse that made Top Goon X give the signal. All right. And I will enlarge this here in a second. So I'm going to go from the top of this impulse to the bottom of this impulse where the signal was given. And I'm going to look at the 0.7886 fib. That's going to be my important Fibonacci level. All right. So here's that resistance right there, 0.786 fib. And if you need to add these fib levels to your Fibonacci tool, you can go to settings here. All right. And you can add whatever Fibonacci levels you want. You should also add the 1.337 and the 0.236 if you don't already have these added. Those are going to be our important levels. All right. So you can see here, I'm basically going to be looking for a short. If the 0.786 fib holds, I'm going to be looking for that as a short entry. All right. And what I'm going to expect is if this holds, I'm going to expect it to drop to the 0.236 fib. If I don't get two candle closes above this 0.786 on the 1 minute chart, I'm going to be able to short this. This is going to be my short entry somewhere up here. And then I'm going to expect my target to be the 0.236 fib for a scalp target. And you can see here, we rejected at the 0.786 fib. So this is why I don't set orders. I actually mark it in and out a lot on these. So I'd be watching this. As soon as I start rejecting, I would probably mark it in here. All right. And then since it's holding great, we're rejecting now. And now we go right down to my 0.236 fib. And whenever the 0.786 fib rejects, whether it's a buy or a sell signal, you are very, very likely to get a touch of the 0.236 or close to it. As you can see, we got really close to it. If I entered a short up here at the 0.786 fib, that would be a 0.22% scalp down to the 0.236 fib. I would probably mark it out at that point. And on 10x leverage, that's a 2% scalp right there in 2 minutes. So that's great. You can see here we rebounded, and we actually never had two closes in a row above the 0.786. We had a close above, rejected, a close above, rejected. And for a big rejection, you can see here we went to the 0.236. The key here is if the 0.236 holds, this signal could be done and over and played out, and we could continue bouncing. So for me, I need to see confirmation of this line, this momentum dropping in here and down to give me confirmation that we're going to continue lower. Now you won't have this line, but you can still play these signals just based off candle closes. What you're going to see here is if we break below the 0.236, that's going to say trend continuation lower, and you're going to hold and expect for much lower continuation. So if I reshorted up here at the 786 fib, or if I held my short here, and I usually put my stop loss somewhere above the 0.886 fib or above this impulse, by the way. But anyway, so if you shorted here, put your stop loss a little above the 0.886 fib, then you would be holding this, expecting lower. And as soon as my 0.236 breaks below, you're going to see that we get a much lower push. That would be a great close at my 99 SMA support. This would be now a 0.5% trade, 10x leverage. Again, that's 5%. What you see here though is we actually don't get two closes below the 0.236. We got one close below, one close back above, so it's kind of a fake out. But now you're going to see here, so we're still, as long as we don't break back above the 6.5, right, we're good. So at this point, I would put my stop loss at break even because you don't want to see price go back above the golden pocket. But we got down to the 0.236, and now you see we finally break down and we close and reject it. Now we have two confirmed closes below. Now we expect continuation lower, and now we get our continuation lower. So it's all about candle closes and confirmation. It makes it very easy for you as a trader to wait for confirmation and to enter these plays. So you can see how this worked great. I waited for confirmation, we rejected, or I got in up here, whatever, we rejected. We didn't have two confirmed closes above. Now I'll show you one that didn't work out. We'll show you a buy signal that didn't work out. All right, so now you can see here, we got our buy approaching signal, and it actually worked out. Actually, this one did work out pretty well. I wanted to show you guys one that didn't work out. Nope, let's see. I bet I can find a Bitcoin one that didn't work out. Again, another buy signal. You can see here how that played out really well. As soon as you break the 0.236 somewhere up here, we took off. That's a really nice, good, strong buy signal with instant gratification. But I guess it's a good thing I'm finding only ones that worked out, right? So again, I usually do it from the immediate impulse up. So if I got the signal here, I'm probably going to do it from this impulse right here. Okay. If I get the signal here, then I'm going to do the whole impulse. But that one worked out. So I think this is going to be one that didn't work out. So let's look here. All right. So we've got it at the bottom again, which I told you usually is not a good sign. But for all intents and purposes, let's draw it up here and say, this is where I would draw it still. So I got it at the bottom, but I would still draw it from here. But again, it's not as good of a signal when I get it at the bottom than when I get it on its way up. But you can actually see here. So let me drag this out so we can see this better. Okay, so my impulse here, we got the signal here. So my impulse, it's going to be my recent impulse up. So the 786 fib to the 0.236, we actually, again, we got a really nice scalp here. We did close above the 236, which would be our confirmation for higher. And more times than not, we do go higher. We go to at least the, the zero or even top here. And you break above that and you skyrocket, but you can see here we actually rejected it and we went lower. And then once you break back below 0.236, that's usually my cue to close up and I'm still in profit, or at least put my stop loss at break even. But you see here a nice 0.4% scalp, probably even higher because we broke straight through that. So I probably would close this at 0.5% or higher. I like to close momentum stalls anyway on these 1 minute charts, but that's a nice 0.5% scalp. And I do these on 100x usually. So that's a 50% scalp right there from that quick signal. So I'm trying to actually find a signal that didn't work out and I'm having trouble finding one. I'm going to zoom out to a different time frame to give you guys a better view of this in a minute. But a lot of the signals are on 1 minute. You're going to get these the most frequently. So I wanted to make sure to touch on these. But you can see here, the 786 obviously didn't hold, we rejected. And when the 786 doesn't hold, you're going to expect to go to the 1337. So technically, if we break the 786, you could technically short that down to the 1337, or at least just hold off on trading. And then your 1337 is actually going to be like your strong buy for a potential bounce. And you can see here, you got a nice little bounce, but you need to break above the 0.786 to stay in this. So what that means is the 786 is your key. But if you break the 786, you're almost always going to go, as soon as you close below that, you're almost always going to go to the 1.337. So that's also useful information, right? So you go to the 1.337 now. If this holds, this is where my really, really strong buy is at, because this is like my bear trap. So if I buy here, you can see I again get a 0.1% move. which is great, but we didn't close above the 786 on 2 closes, and we break down, so I would have to close that. If we closed above there, we'd actually probably have gone higher, okay? But I could use this for confirmation, and then as soon as the 1337 breaks down, I expect much lower. So again, if I was in a short up here, let's say I was in a short and I got the buy signal, but we keep rejecting and then we break below 1337, that's confirmation for me to stay in the short a little bit longer. And then when I get this high buy volume, that's when I would get out anyway. That buy signal gave us a bounce right here. So we're getting all these low time frame bounces off the buy signals, which are great. That's what you want. Even on a 1 minute chart, you want that quick bounce. Like here's a buy signal and you see we get a nice wick down to buy and then a sell signal and we get a wick up to sell. I mean, I know there's plenty of signals that don't play out, but these all look pretty good lately, actually. Price action's been pretty clean with good volume. So I'm not seeing any of these signals just completely dump through. Maybe this one. So here's one. Perfect. Okay. So here's the signal that dumped through. So what happens is you get this nice buy signal on the impulse. So that's great. So I'm going to put my fibs up here and I'm going to look to buy the 0.786 fib, right? Pretty straightforward. Oh no, we broke straight through the 786 fib. So I'm not going to buy that. We rejected it. So now technically I don't like to short these because when you short after these buy signals, you usually have to get in and out pretty quick. Like you have to get that short in and get out pretty quick because you're most likely going to rebound soon. But you could see here that if I wanted to, I could short the 0.786 fib, or I could short the breakdown because I always expect the 1337 to hit, right? So from there to the 1337, that is a 1% scalp short, or 10% on a 10x, or 100% on a 100x, which is great. That's a nice move. And if I reshort this rejection and we break through the 1337, I'm going to expect us to go much lower. And then that turns into a really nice scalp short of 1.7%. So even though the signal itself didn't play out, you can use candle closes and your Fibonacci levels for confirmation of different trades within that signal. But you could see here that didn't play out at all. You could actually have bought the 1337. Okay. So if I bought the 1337, again, another 1% scalp. Because like I said, if the 1337 holds, that is our potential for the bear trap on a bounce. And if we're able to, I don't see a signal so far breaking that. But if it's able to break that 0.786 fib, it's usually a really strong trend and it goes up really high, which is for a really nice trade. And you basically caught the bottom as long as it continues up. All right, so let's go to dot. We got this dot signal here on the 2H. So we got a sell signal here. It showed up in Telegram. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to draw your fib. So remember, if I got it here, I would expect to bounce and I would draw for my full fib level, or for my full impulse. But since I didn't, I got it here. I'm going to draw it from this immediate impulse. So I'm going to go from here to here and look at the 0.786 fib. And you can see here that 2H dot on Binance, our 0.786 fib rejected. All right. So the 0.786 fib rejected. I could short there on rejection. And we got a very nice trade here and I actually did short this. And I think I closed it for about 30 or 40%. And we got a nice drop to the 0.2336 fib, which is our high probability short, or a high probability target as soon as we reject. So that's pretty much automatic when we reject. So automatically a 4% drop, 10x leverage at 40%. And then you see here when we close below it, then we start to see further drop. And we got even more. So a 10% drop from that signal. And we continued lower even if you continued to hold this, because we still have confirmation of a drop. You know, you're always going to get those rebounds. And then technically we still are in downtrend until momentum picks back up and resets. And now you can see here where momentum finally reset. So this tells me that we would probably go back up, and we started to go back up. So actually that was not even the most recent sell signal we got. This was actually the most recent one we just got in Telegram. And you can see here. So again, I didn't get it here. If I would got it here, I would have drawn for the full impulse up. Since I got it here, I'm doing it from the immediate impulse. And it was given at noon. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to look at the 786 fib. You see we reject. What happens when you reject the 786 fib? You expect the 0.236. And what happens here is you go to the 0.236 for, again, 2%-ish. Great short there. And then when we close below it, now you can see we even have continuation and we have much further downside, and we got a nice big drop off of that. Same thing happened with GRT a few days ago. Over here, we got a strong sell signal from Top Goon X. Okay, so immediate impulse down. Perfect. And we just went short of the 0.786 fib. That's where you would short. And we got our nice drop after the signal. All right. So yeah, guys, that's how it works. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. Please take time to get familiar with it. It takes a little while to get the hang of it, but once you get the hang of it, I think you'll really enjoy it. Again, we've got signals on Link, AAVE, GRT, DOT, Ethereum, Bitcoin. We have the low time frame signals on Ethereum and Bitcoin, but as well as higher time frame signals on them too. I'll keep adding signals if you guys request, or if I find another high volume asset that's really popular to trade. If you do want access to the actual indicator to be able to use it to its 110% abilities, you can join www.elevate-trading.com. If you're a Penthouse member, you get access to the indicator itself and the alerts, and also, my advice and trading on it. But otherwise, I think you guys will really enjoy it. And please feel free to reach out if you have questions. Thanks.